In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Hello everyone. Today you're listening to a Muslim sci-fi writer speak about the constitution of existence, at least from a human perspective. Very simply said, if you're secular, I acknowledge a system admin. Right now, I'm in my car. Wondering where human greatness is headed. So, this should be an interesting episode. So first of all, I would appreciate it you either listen to the whole thing or, don't. But listen to the whole thing if you're going to listen to it. I speak like a painter. You can't figure it out until like the last brush stroke, So, dear humanity, dear living world, dear system administrator, almighty creator, dear everything that's here. I, as a human being, as a member of the human species, do acknowledge that we are in the Milky Way galaxy, we're on the planet Earth, and we're Homo sapiens, and all of this, but when you look at the words human being, there is a reason why we write those two words separately, why those two words are not one thing. Simply because there can be beings that are not human, right? For example, people are like, yo man, are there aliens out there? I'm like, bro, just go outside in your garden, right? And just look closely with a magnifying glass at nature. Nature is super alien-like. Look at fish underneath like the sea, super alien-like. But the point is, you have to consider it that God is a completely different level of reality. But for the human being, it would have to imply the acknowledgement of a system admin. So it means that if you, your whole life, were treating yourself like a king or queen, right? Like an ultimate authority of everything that's happening in your experience. I'm saying this, that perhaps after you run enough laps around the sun, you will come to realize that there are limitations to what we have. Okay? Who is a good strategist? Somebody who quickly looks at what resources they have and what they can do and what they actually envision. You see, for me, I have one of those personalities that I could probably be like one of those researchers that goes in Mars and like tries to, study like, you know, extraterrestrial planets like psychology and wildlife and all of that. Right? But I'm trying to tell you that it's kind of like we're not the main event. We're not the main event. We're a part of the activity of life. We're not the director of the film, but we are actors in it. Now, I want you to consider archetypes. If you're someone who's never heard this term, think of it as ideas of self, frameworks of self. Okay, so for example, an atheist is an archetype, a theist is an archetype, a good person is an archetype, a bad person is an archetype. Okay? And you might be secular. This portion, like literally what I'm going to say next, is not for the secular audience. It's pretty much a discrimination and ability. I've found a way to explain to you the difference between religion and spirituality. And the difference is spirituality is an advanced form of self-worship. It's more advanced than the ego. So a person who has an ego is acting like they own worldly things, right? Like we have those kind of egos. But a person to have a transcendental ego, it means the person is claiming not just what's in the world, but qualities to the world. So I can tell you, this might sound very bizarre, and I don't believe, like I don't work with the moderators anymore. My attention is, I saluted the moderators, but I'm like directly, I'm going to the system admin. You know, I'm trying to pilot everybody to the system admin. Why? Because it's here, it's real. Experientially, it got proven to me. And believe it or not, if you take the path, and when I say worship, okay, now I could bring it back to all audiences. When I say the word worship, okay, worship, what is worship? It's where your attention is. Okay? That means, like when someone's hungry, like can we say they're worshiping food? I mean, I guess so, like their attention is there, right? But the point is, and think of it this way, the theological test is just an attention game where the forces of good are like, yo, pay attention to God. And the forces of evil are like, no, man, pay attention to the world. It's like you're going to get everything you want in the world, even though you know you're going to die. But sure, like get your pleasures in this world, in this room. Like what kind of room is this? I mean, I appreciate reality, but in my acquaintance with the moderators, and I was somebody with such a sophisticated ego that if you asked me in 2020, like a year ago, not a year ago, probably like 3 years ago, yeah, exactly 3 years ago, if you asked me, who were you, or who are you, or you're some being doing something different than other beings, what algorithm, what pattern of a soul that has lived in this world before are you living? And I thought, my mind fathomed, had an ability to see variations, but I thought that I was Rishi Vyasa, okay, in 2023, right? And then prior to that, I thought I was like Vishnu or something. Do you know what I'm saying? And prior to that, I thought I was some completely different reality, some celestial commander of some other world or something. Do you know? Like there was that kind of like freaking fiction going around, and I was like, "Yo, man, I can't accept. I'm just nothing in I'm everything in nothing. That's nonsense." Do you know? That's like making everything equal to nothing. But the issue with nothing, right? And sorry to say this to the Buddha and all the nihilists, and the Buddha was an epic guy, but I'm saying, like, the thing about emptiness is, if there's someone noticing it, it's not empty. The soul is level 3. Most human beings are in level 1 and 2. Most human beings are in level 2. I would say maybe like you can say 10% of the, not 10%, but let's say 20%. I don't know. Let's say 20% of the population is level 2. So if in the future, like, see, the thing is, we are blessed with naturalism, right? And the thing about theology is, like, religion, I wouldn't be like, yo, do we need to teach young kids about religion? I'll be like, it won't even become real if it's forced. The thing about religion is that when you see, like, pretty much the human being's attention can go on itself, others, or the world, right? Level 2 beings are just in the world. The mind is a worldly technology. The soul is beyond this world technology. Honestly, guys, with the viewers coming and going, I've realized it's honestly like the viewers are like dolphins. It's like they're coming for me to, like, throw something for the dolphin, and then the dolphin leaves. Like, this is not honor. But in reality, guys, I'm being playful. What I want to bring your attention to is that you're a living being. There is a value to your life. And what's way more remarkable is that you are present where many of us are. You're not alone. Anybody in the world right now, if you feel strange, guess what? The world is strange. It's a strange place. We normalize it by repetition, thinking that the constant repetition is reality, normality, da 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 da. But it's honestly the management of cattle. What do I mean by this? I have a business partner currently. This business partner is older than me, and this business partner, I heard him once saying that when he was young, his father told him everybody is a cow. His father's like, son, before the next time you get angry, you just realize everybody's a cow. And I thought, like, what is that? What did the father mean by saying to his son, everybody is a cow, son? Right? Because he's kind of saying to his son, that means you're a cow too. You have the potential to be a cow, right? Like, this is a weird sentence to say, but I was what he means by cow is that a being that is oblivious. Therefore, it's, in some sense, its dimensions, the dimensions are absent. Okay, or the dimensions are not absent for the human being. Okay. So, created by a greatness to perform in front of it. I think this is an amazing idea. You see, whatever you do in this life, you cannot ignore that when you function at a certain speed and then you slow down. When you slow down in life after the whole day's gone with a pace, contemplation automatically happens. Contemplation happens when you choose to become simpler and slower than the moment. Then you can observe it. You know, I had this attitude where I was always trying to go first through doors. Then at a very young age, I think like ever since like age 16 or something, I just was like, yo, yield, you know? You see, we human beings, when it comes to driving cars, completely, like at least a majority of human beings can function in that system, right? In the transport, like just a sort of all dimensions of the transport system, okay, that human beings use. I mean, it would be cool if some like let's say, you know, like they brought back horses again. Can you imagine? You run to the grocery store on a horse to buy a pack of cigarettes, you know, like the most ridiculous chivalrous thing. Like not chivalrous, the most like knight level, like. It's like after you buy your pack of cigarettes, like I shouldn't say this, let's say you go buy a soda or something, you go buy juice, of orange juice, right? So you get on your horse from your house and like you go and you stop at the street lights and everything, and you go to the grocery store, right? And you know, like there's like a, I don't know, some kind of small ranch beside the grocery store or something, I don't know, somewhere where you put the horse, and then you go in, right, and people bring back old school greetings and all this, like and the person goes in there, buys an orange juice, and at the end, the, you know, what do you call it, the shop owner brings out a store, and like the queen like knights the guy, giving him discount. You know, the world is lucky that I didn't become a writer of comedy and like you know, in like you know, where famous writers of comedy are, you know. Because if I did, I would take the world into another dimension. I think it would be unfair, you know. And see, guys, this is a perfect example of self-worship, which you shouldn't do. You see, I honestly want the human species, like, you don't understand. Like, if somebody was like, yo, if all the most powerful people, everybody, if everybody on the planet was like Mr. Within, okay, we don't know what to do. You want to design civilization, bro? And I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe this is something I've been waiting for a long time, right? And I would say, first thing I would do is I would say all nations forget everything, even nations at war forget everything, and immediately go level up your educational systems. And the way I would reorganize the educational system, it would be that by the age middle school, okay, that means the young children, when I saw like 6-year-old kids are like learning like the most advanced like piano, like theory, like at a young age or something, right? I was like, yo man, why is this kid just learning piano notes? Why don't we create an advanced educational system, a mighty educational system, that its expectation is so advanced the parents are like, whoa, we don't even know like what to do, right? And so the whole point is that the young child by middle school would have complete knowledge of like as much of a doctor, right? So the child would be healthy its whole life, right? The child would have all the advanced fields of knowledge in some sense received at a young age. And by middle school, they would all go advanced physical training. We don't even care if you're thin or whatever, like low energy. The whole point is experience it. It's part of the sense of creating the camaraderie. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? That means, you know, when I went to like my own high school, sure, there was, of course, like, you know, freedom, foolishness, all of this. But a part of me years later envisioned what an advanced school would look like. And I would be like, let's play, but with higher stakes. That means the first thing is the hallways of the schools to get the children to class would be obstacle courses. And let's say in that futuristic school, if somebody's like Mr.Within, there's a kid who's disabled and can't jump and run. Like, what does that do? What does he do? I'm like, give him a hover chair. He can still use his hands. You have to go through the obstacle course. Do you know? So the whole point is that we are like, yo, the mind gives an ability to see the advanced. The future generations are waiting for the advance. They don't understand it, right? Because whatever you think you are, whatever image, status symbol, story you tell yourself, ultimately you're a being that's just moving around for some time here, and that's it. Do you believe that? That's simply life is being a creature, being a human being. But the mind is that part of the human beings that's like, what am I looking at? And then the question went deeper. What am I looking at? It's like, wait a minute, what am I looking at? Wait a minute, what is looking at me? Like, it deepens. So I want an advanced humanity in the sight of God. But I don't want to force the secular audience, secular population to become religious. But I will tell you that because it's a reality, you will actually, probably what's going to happen is that the word system administrator is going to become the replacement idea for the secular society of the God beyond the world. So the system admin that is beyond the system that created the system. Do you understand? It's cool. It's like, I feel like there's like a door above this. It's like there's this, I feel the sky is a door, and or like some window, and we just have to find a way to pull it open. You know? You know, imagine they bring they create this scene where there's Santa Claus and this kid, and you know, the Santa Claus is like, kid, what do you want for Christmas? And the kid's like, I want world peace. I want there to be peace, you know, I want to be peaceful, and I want there to be world peace, or something like that. And Santa Claus in that moment slaps that kid, right? And in some sense says, kid, once you accept this reality, you will be at peace. Meaning that there are dimensions, depths, intensities. Right now, as I speak, you know, there is stuff happening on the planet that is unnecessary. Why aren't 8 billion human beings strategically, efficiently, and joyfully, playfully inspired, like building an advanced civilization? So in the subtitle, I've written Divine Decree of the Advanced Civilization's Arrival. And it was a longer title, but the idea was that I don't know if it's now, I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to, okay, let me say it this way, I don't know if it's going to be like 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, or it's already been, do you know, I don't believe, do you know, yeah, that's a good way of saying it at least, and I don't know, but it's in some sense we can envision there will come a moment where God will give the green light. And 8 billion human beings will in some sense feel connected to the system admin, empowered by the original world, not the simulated one, and live in the simulated one with the presence. So you see, your backup system is God. And believe it or not, this is true. Because how many human beings have been in moments of danger and fear and they've called God? It's like gone to the backup system. So I'm pretty much saying a human mind has fathomed this world as a simulation, okay? So when you wake up in the day, if you choose to think you're an idea of thought, like an ego only, you're gonna have access to simulated energy. But if you acknowledge the admin, the one and only, the original power of the realm of all, that which moves the reality in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that it's God that keeps the birds in the sky, right? Do you know what that means? That means there is in some sense a decree, meaning the system admin can control, can command the forces that create the conditions for reality. So this reality, and for all the secular scientific community, has become just way more interesting because, guys, you sit in labs trying to see it, to believe it, not realizing there's optical illusions, not realizing the world has we can't see the edge of the world to index it, to shape it, to consider it, to measure it. Do you know that means if you're measuring something in nothing, then what did you measure? Reality has a superiority. Its superiority is that which moves all. It is singular. The way I have simplified it for the secular audience is that okay, I'll give you an example. If someone, let me tell you this, guys, let me tell you this. I started a Discord server. I was the admin. I appointed moderators. The moderators were members who were first members who got close to the system admin and were worthy or something, right? Let me say it like this. Before giving this talk, okay, I just had a moment where I felt like, okay, whatever I do on this planet, like technically what happens? And so I've reached this point where I don't grab onto the future. The future is like a grape, is like grape wines, right? But it's grapes that you shouldn't actually take. Do you know? And what I mean by this is that expectations on your future self can make you worship yourself. Worshipping yourself is in some sense distracting yourself with the simulated. So in some sense, religion, spirituality was the member, like experiencing the system and interacting with the moderators and feeling like, yo man, there's shamanic ancestors around me, I'm contacting aliens, channeling aliens, I'm talking to spirit guides, there's mediums, there's these, there's this, there's that, there's da 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 da. You know, in my spirituality it was way more advanced. I felt that my spirit guides were my future selves, right? I spoke about this like a couple of years ago. But anyways, the whole point is, I'm telling you, I put away spirituality because I realized the self is limited. So I'm limited as much as you, as much as everybody. And there's the forces that move the system beyond us. Now, what can we do? I have this opinion where I'm like, okay, if I can't relate to the world, and because I was actually an introvert and a shy person, right? I was like, okay, I can't really like freaking, like, you know, it's hilarious. Some people are born in the world, but they don't feel like they can live in it. Do you know? Those are like shy people. Okay. But I in one talk, I was like, in the future, shyness should be fined. Like if you act shy in public, like, police with like the most like comfy, fluffy batons are gonna come and beat you. So can you imagine, guys? Can you imagine if violence Honestly, AI, robots are going to bring civility. I think that. I think technology is going to civilize us, which is weird. But I wouldn't mind it. I would like to see how the first prototype of the surveillance state would look like, but I don't like to see egos controlling it. That shit's like it's like putting a pig on a tractor. Like, you know. And you look at the pig and you're like, you're driving the wrong way, and the pig just oinks at you and you're like, man, these metaphors need to evolve, you know? So, back to it. This episode, I am choosing to bask in how awesome of an idea it is that there will come a moment. I hope to, like, you know, part of me would like to see, would like to see it, but it depends on the divine decree and how long I'm, you know, here. You see, pretty much I tried to build an advanced civilization, and I understood it externally, objectively, subjectively, but I didn't understand it as the role of the soul. Do you understand? As a soul, level 3 of life is a completely different game. As a soul, you see the limitations of level 1 and 2. You see the limitations of your body and mind. You see the limitations of the body, that it's temporary, and you see the limitations of the mind is that there's infinite ways to look at life. Which way is correct? Do you see? So the mind is in some sense dealing with what do I do with infinity, and the body is in some sense dealing with like what do I do with the end? Man, I'm gonna end it one day. Why there's gonna be an ending, or is there gonna be something else? Right. So in some sense, it's the fascination of divine decree for me. If the world has an owner and there's anything moving in the world, it must have had the permission of the owner. And so, you know what I expect in the future, like I would say this, that in 2023, I would feel like the future generations unborn, like like some people maybe may feel it in this life, but I feel it that all the people who haven't been born yet are watching. All the future generations are watching right now. They're watching us right now and being like, okay, who's noticing where they are? And in 2004, what changed was the central core value of my system shifted from me being connecting to truth to me realizing that truth is superior. It's like having a superior officer, but instead of a superior officer, it is the system admin, it is the original creator of the world, of the created. We are the created. I mean, like, and what do we value? Creativity. Isn't that hilarious? And how do we live? It's like, I made this argument, the atheist comes and says, why should I believe in an invisible creator that is administering everything? And I'm like, wait a minute, man. You believe in time, which is an invisible idea. You believe in laws, which are invisible modes. And you believe in your name, which is not something you can touch. And you believe in the idea of you, but the idea of you is right there where the idea of God is. It's as fiction as the idea of God. So in some sense, the atheists don't know what they're doing. They're nullifying. They're trying to, in some sense, just limit reality to level 1 and 2. But they will realize that the mind needs, it's like, people are busy, the lower self is busy looking for a key for the door to open. The higher self has already knocked and is waiting, and the door will open itself. This is what faith means. Faith means that not everything goes in accordance to the speed of our expectation of whatever we have a value of. Let me tell you what an advanced civilization would be like. Raising kids in an advanced civilization would be like the kids one day coming up to the parents and being like, Mom, Dad, what's the meaning of life? What's the point of doing anything at all? Like, why do you guys go to work? And they're like, because the moment civilization got a genius makeover, Civilization 2.0, at least this was my vision of it. The advanced civilization, it's one where everybody realized we're on the same boat. We're all on Spaceship Earth. Your neighbor might be a piece of shit, but they're a crew member of Spaceship Earth. They are also a soul in the administrative system of God, and our forms, bodies, the mind and body are also found in a divine surveillance state. So if some people prayed to nature, which was wrong, they should have just asked what nature prays to. And my vision, understanding is, it is anything that gets it close to God. Anything that makes it realize there is more than what is moderating it as an archetypal form. You see, I am human now, but God knows truly what the soul is. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the soul is the secret of God. What does that mean? That means the purpose of the test of life is not per se just to know yourself. Because you can never know yourself. It's a secret. It's designed that way. But the clue is, it's like the purpose of life is not exploration, endless exploration of outer space, let's say, because the edge of the world is not something we can find. So it's not like figuring out what the world is. That's not the test, let's say. This is just one person's analysis, guys. Take it lightly. So I'm in my theological view, the test is not trying to know yourself. The test is not trying to figure out what the world is. The test is perhaps realizing and getting a clue from evolution as well that we are the only species that has an ability to interact intelligently and communicate and receive communication and notice intelligence unlike any other life form here. So the clues are pointing us like, wait a minute, could it be that wait a minute, the world is so big, so the video game, if life was a video game, I'll let the train pass. Okay. Okay, to continue. I'm pretty much saying, like, my God, how many trains are passing by? Guys, this is, a suggestion of industry. These trains should be like 300 meters in the air right now. What the hell are they doing, like, on the ground? See, that's the attitude we need. I want to be like, when I get old, that guy who's like, my God, a train that still is on the ground? Preposterous. I can't believe it. Bring my tea or something. No, seriously though, this is a very long train. I can't. Okay, anyways, guys, I'll speak through the train. Right now, imagine me running on top of a train, holding my laptop and giving this podcast. Yeah, in a suit. So, anyways, guys, back to it. So, pretty much my fascination with all of this. Think of it as a video game, and now think of it as if in one video game, you're stranded on an island and that's it. It's empty. And in the other video game, you're not stranded on an island. You're inside an incredibly advanced orchestrated system. That means the lesson I got from religion as someone who honestly I think because I searched online and I didn't see anybody talking about the advanced civilization other than Kardashev. Kardashev was like, a badass. You believe the train is still going? All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. If God is all forgiving, then faith shouldn't be too hard. Dear species, I think that it's way more interesting than us contacting aliens, way more interesting than us contacting future selves, way more interesting than us contacting advanced like AI technology or something, is the notion of trying to contact the author of this fiction novel we're in. Right? And subjectively, it's a fiction novel because these creatures on a rock opened their eyes, freaked out, and started lying to themselves to have a manageable reality to function through. So, believe it or not, just like how our ancestors were savage, the mind was also like being, in the furnaces of evolution. And as it was going through that process, the mind was in some sense deceptive. So the cruelty, like if they were to do a measure of like how cruel were people like 1,000 years ago compared to now, 1,000 years ago it was normal to kill. Like even less than thousands of, the further back you go, man was just a beast. So you see, the point of human civility is to not act beast-like, right? This is not even like being like, yo man, don't do evil things. It's like, yo bro, it's a civilized environment. Beastly behavior is the forest only here, right? And what does that imply? That means every human being that has a persona like can consider that there's a way they can be right now that is way more advanced than how they're being right now. God is like an advanced power because it's like we're in a simulation, and the original power is what's really moving the simulation. The original power is divine decree. And in Islam, God says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, He shares what He wills with whom He wills. So it's one of those things where I came down from the mountain of spirituality, and now I'm climbing the mountain of religion. And the mountain of religion is I personally had an experience with, if you want to say like higher power, like I'll tell you, you tell me if this counts as a higher power, okay? Imagine having a sophisticated future expectation and ego, like as if you're like this warrior who's been training for a battle, and then suddenly they're like, yo, put down your sword, and you're like, what? For a decade, what was I doing then? Right? And they were like, put down your sword, as if you're not ready, you know? For me, having a relationship with the system admin is way more fascinating than myself moderating between me and truth, or other entities or deities or whatever moderating between me and truth, or any form in the world moderating me between truth. It's like me directly on earth putting my sincere attention on the ultimate power of being, the ultimate administrative conductor to the symphony of manifestation. You understand? That means it's not just hard work, guys. It's not just karma. It's a system admin. It's a decree, right? It's as if like the kid's like, man, I cleaned my room. Can I go outside and play? Imagine like you see that shit, right? So the kid can't go outside and play, right? Because the mother's like, no, you got to do all your chores. Do you understand what I'm saying? For me, it's my relationship with truth is that I bowed in all three levels of my being to the Creator, because my body was horrified by that there's death, there's an end, it's temporary. My mind was horrified because it could endlessly, infinitely see viewpoints, but it also didn't know which to choose out of these viewpoints. It was impossible to trust myself. When your mind gets close to infinity, it's impossible to trust yourself. So in some sense, I was reaching a point where like my soul, I don't know what it was, but who I felt I was in that moment was horrified. I was like smiling every day, being cheerful, trying to be a higher energy than the environments I went in, right? But deep down, a part of me was like, fuck the ending though. Like, And the body fears the end. The mind is like, why was I here though? What, like, why? If I had value, why did I not give before I leave? Like, I'm no longer like a Sufi Muslim, okay? But the poet Rumi had this saying, which is nowhere close to divine revelation, but it was very poetic, because poets speak about desires, but prophets are on another level. They're advanced. They're like, when the sky poured light, that's the best way you can define a prophet. It's the mercy of God on mankind, through mankind. And so, it's a realignment to your actual role as a being prior to you having to select a human thought. A thought of what kind of human you are. I don't remember it exactly, and I'm saying this with, of course, I'm Muslim, with pure respect, but I have to share, I feel like I should share the idea, but I don't remember it accurately, but I'll do my best. So forgive me if I miscommunicated. May God forgive me if I miscommunicated. Pretty much it was this story, it was like this famous story in Islam where three types of people come to this Muslim scholar, and they're like, hey, like, my crops are there's no rain, and there's like something like that. What do I do? And the saint, I shouldn't say saint, the Muslim scholar, the fakir, says to the person, you have to go ask for forgiveness from God. Just go home and pray and ask for forgiveness from God. Okay. And the guy gets angry and just goes. I don't know if he gets angry, but he goes. Then another guy comes and says another situation, which I don't accurately remember. Okay. And the Muslim scholar gives the same answer and says, go home, and if you want this problem solved, just go home and ask forgiveness from the system, the admin. Just go directly to God and ask for forgiveness. That means you've done something wrong. That's why something wrong is happening to you. Okay? And so the third person comes, which again, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what the exact scenario was, right? But comes, and then the Muslim scholar again pretty much he pretty much says to all three that go home and ask for forgiveness. And then those three somehow know each other or meet up, and they all come to the Muslim scholar, right? And right after, like, when he said that to them, right? And they all come to him and they're like, why did you tell us this? Right? And sorry. The story, I think, goes that they go, like, this makes more sense than how the story went, right? That they go home and they ask for forgiveness and their problems resolved. They come back and they're like, why did you tell all three of us that had three different problems to ask for forgiveness? And then the guy says, legit, in the Holy Quran, it's written, if you have these three problems, ask for forgiveness from God. Right? And all of them get goosebumps and they feel reverence and they become humblified. See, the thing about the system admin, it's pretty much like, imagine a bunch of kids pillow fighting, but this pillow fighting's gone too extreme. Okay? And then suddenly, like, an adults come in the room, and 8 billion kids who were pillow fighting are like, some of the kids have noticed the adults in the room, and the singular adult in the room, and they, in some sense, they immediately stop. right? And now the whole point is the species. Okay, that was just a metaphor, but like the whole point is that my relationship, the way I have a relationship with God, was that it was as if I felt such a superior presence that I felt unworthy. You don't understand. That hits you in another way. You know? But I, in some sense, all the expectations of my future I had, I was like, okay, that means if God, in some sense, the idea is that if you want to give yourself something, it's limited to the imaginable imperfection. If God wants to give you something, it is in some sense unimaginable perfection. It's the most perfect, much exactly needed, the right thing, the right person, the exact, what was necessary. So the human species, when it comes to level 1, we got to try to get everybody surviving and healthy. So it's a health restoration project, global health restoration project for level 1. Right? Level 2 is in some sense, what do we do with infinitude? And in some sense, it's in some sense retelling the story of man, but with the freedom of the realization that the administration of this system surpasses our understanding. That means it's not like faith is literally like when you're on a roller coaster, guess what? You have faith there. But this is now having faith in the creator of all that is created, and you are something that's created moving in all that's created, right? So it's as if you go to the system, going directly to the system admin beyond any worldly form. Do you understand? Because if it's a worldly form, it'll loop. It'll touch infinity. That means the prophets were prophets because they saw, they in some sense had a relationship. The system admin directly contacted these individuals. At least for Moses, I believe, directly contacted. Prophet Muhammad, there was a messenger, a moderator was sent, right? And so I'm telling you, it's not about intelligence, it's about your character development in the presence of the honor of your world. That means if aliens landed right now and they attacked, like, imagine some country, I'm pretty sure all the nations were like, yo guys, let's just stop our wars and just get this thing out of here, right? Do you know what I mean? So there would be that attitude of like suddenly, do you know what I mean? It's like, I remember this as a kid, right? In my, when I was in Iran in grade 4, right? In this school called Tehran International School, right? There were fights in the classroom constantly, right? But I remember when someone from our classroom fought another classroom, both classrooms began fighting with each other. Do you know the same archetypes that were found in our classroom and the same archetypes that were found in another classroom of kids, right, would in some sense combat? And there was once where our school was beside another school, the schools combated. Like it was like, I'm telling you, it was like equivalent to some sort of like military service. So that's what I'm saying. Acknowledge the system admin, you connect to the original power. Once you connect to the original power, you're right where you are, right? And you notice you have access to level one, and you in some sense as a human being have to formulate your strategy to what your body is going to do and how it's going to move this whole time here, right? And then when it comes to your mind, the mind, see, I'm not trying to tell you, like, again, to think something far in the future, but I'm saying it is okay to be fascinated. There's something about fascination, uh, starting out of sincerity, that is like it's authorized. That means, believe it or not, it's like the person's like, I love God, but I hate my neighbor, right? And the person's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. If you love the creator of the created, how can you not love what the creator has created? Do you understand? Like, how can you not, like, if a genius designed something, how could you not consider that what that genius designed is not genius, right? So our souls are original. It's the original, that part of us that is connected to the original server of reality. You know, the original, which means God in some sense. Man cannot say much about the soul, but when it comes to the mind and body, the performance of it, that's the focus, right? So how should your mind and body perform? And I think that we have been designed to be able to see probabilities, and probability means a variation to the reality, right? So that means if you're walking by somewhere and there's a cup that's not like properly, that's like pushed into the trash, right? And you're throwing something, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's as if you see something that can happen, and that's a God-given ability, right? And then that allows you to do something. So now the point of us communicating together is trying to unify the human species, and to unify it on level one, I think it's health. Pretty much everybody agrees that, like, let's all be healthy, right? When it comes to level two is, what great game are we playing? So think of it this way: we are not just living in a divine surveillance state, right? In a divine reality, we're living also in a man-made reality. That's pretty much what civilization is. It's how we set up the house of 8 billion species expression, right? So you would be like, wait a minute, the unification, okay, wait, let me finish it actually. So level one was body health. We all care for health, right? Level two, when the mind, what video game of how do we connect to the overall man-made system, which is civilization? And right now, in my previous lectures, you know, which were not about metaphysics, but which was about kind of civilization and how I envisioned variations to it. In an advanced civilization, the answer that that child gets when it asks what are we doing here, it's like, we are, every person's activity is advancing civilization. It is honor filled. You will wake up in the morning, and whatever you do, you will be conscious of its value to the whole. And the difference is, right now, the civilization, the governing systems of civilization are just like, it makes sense that they're surviving too, and they're just maintaining themselves. But in reality, an advanced civilization does not start off with an inferiority complex. Quite the opposite. In some sense, it is the ability of man. That means if the greatest power created the greatest design, which is us, then we should be capable of the greatest performance in the sight, in the presence of the Almighty and all that watches. So when it comes to advancing civilization, you will feel just like if you have family, if you're someone who's blessed and have family members, right? We will reach a point where there will be no longer orphans in the world, because it would be the era, the neo era, new cultural era of the human familia. That means human beings will be like, yo, we thought a surveillance state was a bad idea, but the surveillance state is actually how every human being comes in a system of notable rank, right? And a ranking system is fascinating, because then there could be measurable qualities that come from it psychologically, right? So I'm telling you, to advance civilization is as simple as, in some sense, doing that which has been never done before, but doing that's not just some random chaotic thing, right? I'm not saying like obliviously chaotically dance your way to like the future. I'm telling you, look at where you are, try to feel what you are in the presence of, and then if you have lacked any sense of honor, any sense of might, the might all comes from the system admin. You see, in the Holy Quran, there was a saying that it took me so long, not so long, but it was such a heavy sentence that I didn't know like how to deal with it, right? But eventually I understood, where in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, mankind and jinn kind was created only for the purpose to worship me, to worship God alone. That means the purpose of intelligence is to notice and establish a relationship, a link with the system admin, to honor it, to honor the designs, to realize that if ideas make us feel we have enemies, everything in this world is God's creation. It does not belong to us to manipulate it. Do you understand? And when you understand the purity and the power of the original world, the scent, the feeling, do you know? I'm telling you, when you get close to God, that feeling you have, it's as if every part of you that felt there was something missing from the beginning of its design suddenly realized it was missing. Its ultimate commander. And this doesn't mean you, like, let me tell you, the human mind has an ability, because we're like, think of it this way. When you get to level 3, you can consider that there's a spiritual war going on. When you're in level 1, you could be like, there's a physical war going on. Why the F is there so much sugar and everything? Like, why the F is it there? Do you know? Do you know why aren't, like, you know, why hasn't the world figured out health yet? You know, like Elon Musk, do some shit. You know? You Musk. Dear humanity, really what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, 8 billion organisms, they can choose to be alone in a rock in the middle of nowhere, or they can choose to be on a rock where they have an ability to connect to the originator of reality, where psychologically in level 2 of the mind, it would imply that you are fiction. So the idea of you is fiction, but the fiction is being moved by non-fiction. So technically the fiction is not fiction, right? So the thing about getting close to God, for me, if somebody says, like, what is the meaning of life? I would be like, it's just quickly realizing who the world belongs to. And it's the one and only God. La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. That means there is no partner to God, which means the uncaused is the cause of causation. So anything that is an effect inside causation can, in some sense, not be superior to the uncaused. The uncaused is the authority. So it's as simple as, just for me, it was a feeling of honor. It felt like, I felt like, I felt like, in some sense, like a servant of the original world. Like, like there was a feeling there, right? There was something as if, like, it's, oh yeah, it doesn't make sense why it's empty and undiscoverable. Like, I knew there was something off. And what was missing was just the attention to, at least from a theological lens, why did man fall? What was the sin that Adam and Eve, in some sense, and all men should realize, Eve was a blessing upon man. Whatever happened, it was a blessing. It was designed by God to be a blessing upon man. So the mistake, if we look at what the mistake was, it was as if God left Adam and Eve alone, right? And in some sense, Adam and Eve got distracted, and God told them not to bite from the fruit. And in some sense, the serpent, let's say, told them to do so or whatnot. Let's say the Abrahamic mode. And so, in some sense, the sin was that man forgot his creator. That Adam, for a moment, decided to listen to his environment rather than immediately see what were the standards of the ultimate. For the ultimate position is beyond this world. For me, it's fascinating because they say, they asked Muhammad Ali, known as the greatest boxer of all time, both in character, and boxing and speed. It's like humanity cannot deal with the, let's say, unknown and the uncontrollable. So you have faith in the system admin to take care of that part. And the point is, man needs to notice this superior original intelligence, especially if you feel like a simulated being. And the epitome of knowledge. We have faith in our author. It's like the characters in a fiction novel having faith in the author who wrote them. It's as if the author loves those characters. Anyways, thank you for listening. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Thank you for listening.